Hello and welcome, strategy sluts, to Victoria 3! Hello and welcome to a brand new campaign of Victoria 3, and today we're going to be trying out playing as my home nation, my homeland, Ukraine. Let's dive into the game, and I'll try to explain a little bit of how the game mechanics work, what our idea for the campaign is, and see what we can do. Now, to play as Ukraine, as you can see, it doesn't exist. So what you need to do is you have to click on and start, go to diplomacy, release subject, and click on Ukraine. Make sure you release as the independent. You can also play as a subject if that's your take, and play as Ukraine. Boom! Here we are. All right, so goals for our campaign to obviously make Ukraine the #1 great power in the entire world, the most prosperous country that will never ever fall to the ground. Also, we have to liberate some of our territories. I know what you're thinking. Ukraine's looking a little thick, but I have some more news for you. That's not all the Ukrainian lands that Ukraine actually should possess. My hometown, Lviv, is currently occupied by the evil Austrians. We will be getting that politely back. So the game starts at January 1st, 1836. This is the Victorian era, as suggested by the name of the game, obviously. And the obvious #1 absolute GOAT, Great Britain, sitting at rank #1 with a whopping GDP of 26 million. The highest prestige, they are going to be going up, 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 and up because they control Hudson's Bay and the rest of the Canadian stuff. They control British East India Company and all of its subjects. They also have Australia. They have the Cape Colony, the South Africa. They are strong. Our rivals are going to be most likely be unknown nations, but primarily Austria, Prussia, and obviously the other Prussia. So, a little background on the game. It takes about 19 million years to learn the entire thing and play like a pro, so we're not going to be doing that. But I will say a few things just so that some newcomers have some context. This game primarily is divided into 3 different sections, I guess you can say. You have the government, which you can pass laws and institutions. You have the economy, which is the game's primary pillar, I suppose you could say, where you grow your economy, you sell goods and build factories and so on and so forth. And you have your warfare, where you have your armies and you can invade and defend and so on and so forth. You can also colonize and other additional things, obviously, but those are the 3 main pillars of this game. So #1, we have to make sure that our country is going to be thriving economically. So in order to do that, we have to grow our GDP, which at the moment it's suggesting that it's 6.8 million, which is not too shabby, 13th in the world, actually. So that's quite good. We have very resource-rich land. Ukraine is very, very rich in terms of that. As you can see, we can grow a lot of different things. Very arable land. If you click here, each province has their own modifiers, what they can build and grow and so on and so forth. Which we will be going over for sure, and I'll be showing you a thing or two. But since we are resource rich, we should grow quite fast. In order to do that, we have to balance our budget, which is located over here, our money. So at the moment, we're getting 12,000 per week, which is quite good, but we can do better. And with that, we can build more. So, first starting tips, what I usually like to do, I like to click on the outlier here, and we have these interest groups. I am going to pin them on my right side over here so I can see what's going on, which dives in a little bit into the government system. So let's talk about it actually right now. So if you click here, politics, we have our overview. This gives us everything you need to know about your government in a glance. But we are more interested in this section here and the laws. So here we can see what our government actually looks like. We have our hetman, which is the current ruler in Ukraine. Our Anton Konot. We have our hetman here. Interesting name. He is of Ukrainian origin. Cool. And he is a landowner, which is not great. As you can see, 41.5% clout is for the landowners, which we want to change. We want to industrialize our nation. We want the intelligentsia here, and we want the industrialists as part of our government. So anyone on the left side is part of the government, and anyone on the right side is the opposition. And as you can see, the landowners are in charge, and their views, well, they're not particularly progressive, if you know what I mean. So we will changing some things around. Actually, we can click on the reform government here, and we can bring some other interest groups into our government in order to pass more favorable laws. So let's bring in the armed forces here. It's going to lower our legitimacy a little bit, but that's fine. Talk a little bit about legitimacy. The lower your legitimacy, the more penalties you get, the higher the more benefits you get, like loyalists for standard of living increase and so on and so forth. So higher number, better. That's what you need to know. Then we'll click on laws here, and you can see on each section we have the power structure, economy, and human rights. Those are the different types of laws that we can pass. And if you click on one of these, those are the different types of laws, particularly you can choose for that subsection. So when you see a 0, that means no laws can be changed. As you can see here, we have national supremacy, but we can't pass anything because we don't meet the criteria, which is located here. For example, none of the particular interest groups want this change to happen because they're not part of the government, they're in the opposition. Okay, first what we can do, we can create colonies actually, which is quite good. However, if we hover over this, we can see that intelligentsia, or rather the landowners, are going to be really pissed off. It's going to change from +5 to -15. If it's past -10, then a revolution can happen, so that's a no-go. We can move from peasant levies to a professional army, and that is going to be our first move since it gives us much more buffs. And a good army we will need in the future for sure. It says that the trade unionists are going to be radicalized. It's going to go to -10. But since they are marginalized, they're so insignificant that those effects don't even matter. So let's do that. We're going to click here and cancel out. And we can see here we are enacting professional army. It's going to go through 3 stages: introduction, then consideration, then adoption. And throughout those 3 different stages, we're going to get some events that either push this law into a positive or a negative outcome as we go through. Okay, so politics and law has been taken care of. Let us now declare some interests. So in the brown color, these are the automatic interests that we get based on the provinces that we already have in those regions. So each set of provinces are combined into one region in the game to better divide everything up, I suppose. So we are going to declare interests with some of our neighbors over here so we can trade with them. And since we don't have colonization, we won't do anything in Africa because that is not necessary at the moment. So that's fine. Up top here, we can see that we have a lot of shortages since we just left the Russian market. Each country is part of a specific market where they share resources that the combination of the countries produce. So for example, if we click here, we can see that the Prussian market is part of, or rather all of these nations like Bavaria, Saxony are part of the Prussian market. So the prices for all those resources or those goods that they have is shared among all the nations that are within that market. So since Ukraine was part of the Russian market and Russia, they make a lot of things, now there's a bunch of shortages because some of those things are not being made in Ukraine directly. But we are going to change that, don't you worry. We also have this light bulb here, so we can click that. We can research some stuff. So you have your production, you have your military, you have your society. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to start out with stock exchange because of something called market access price impact. Now I know I'm going very fast, but just want to lay down the foundation of the game so you can have a little bit, at least a little bit of understanding going forward. So market access price impact basically means that each province has their own local price on a specific good. For example, textile mills create clothes and it costs an X amount. And if you go to Kirsk, for example, that cost is higher than it would be in here. Right? Should be. Where is it made? Was it here? Yeah. So because it's made here, it's cheaper because the population consumes it in that province. But since this province does not make it, it is now more expensive because it has to leave this province and go into this one. So that penalty is actually quite harsh. Let's say we go to fish here. It's 65% of the actual price, meaning that 35% of the price gets just lost. It just increases by 35%. So if we research stock exchange, it's actually going to change it by, so plus 10 is going to go from 65 to 75, which will be a 25% penalty, which is much, much better. So we'll do that. We're also going to do lathe and atmospheric engine, and I'll explain why in a later time. And we are going to queue up some construction sectors. This is a building that allows you to build things faster. Now, the problem is that it's very expensive. So if you build too many of them too fast, then your economy is going to crash and you're going to be destroyed. But as long as you're careful, it should be okay. So we are going to do something like this. Boom, boom, boom. We'll start with just that for now. And we're going to enact some decrees. These are just bonuses that you can enact on your provinces based on how much authority you have, which is located over here. And the authority is given by specific laws that you have enacted, specific rules that you have, and other bonuses throughout the game that you get. So let's do promote social mobility over here, which is going to increase our education access and qualifications that you need for specific factories, for example, by 25%, which is huge. So we're going to do that everywhere, actually. This is my favorite thing to do. And we're actually going to increase taxes a little bit. We're going to get to 17K, and we're going to tax services. Boom. I like that a lot. And we'll bump up the government wages a little bit for now. And let's see how the game progresses from there. Okay. Let's go to speed 4 or 5 and a big A. All right, as you can see, we have some interests that we have declared already going through and establishing themselves, which means we can trade with the nations that we need to trade with. So we're going to go and buy some iron, establish import trade route with the Ottomans, British. As long as you don't trade with the Russians, I think we're in good shape. So let's go with the rest, and we should be set in just a little bit. All right, now awesome. All those notifications have disappeared, which means we are not in a shortage of anything anymore. And we can click on our market here and see what kind of goods are needed and what kind of goods are in our abundance, which we can see that the hardwood is in clear abundance here. So we can actually go ahead and sell it, which we can do like this, export trade route, and we can sell it to the British. Here you go, British. And we can sell it to Russians. No! French. The French get it. Awesome. So now we can see that there's at least 10 that are being bought, but there's going to be more since the trade rate is going to grow. We are still lacking some tools, but I think that since I just did the trade, it still hasn't rendered. So let's go through some time. As you can see, it's growing to 67. There we go. And now the prices are changing. So what we want to do, we want to make sure, we want to actually produce the goods rather than import the goods, because then we are not dependent on the other countries. So as soon as we get all our construction sectors created, we are going to be set for growth. We're actually making so much money that I'm going to decrease the taxation just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to make it non-existent at the moment, but once the construction sectors go through, we are going to be what? Well, hello, bonjour, France. Bonjour, France is subsidizing us. That's awesome. I'm gonna actually cancel the taxes here because we don't need to tax our country at the moment since we are swimming in money. Now, France did subsidize us, but I don't know how long that's gonna last. But it is nice, so we will definitely take it. So all you need to know is this bar, it fills up yellow going from left to right, which means our gold reserves are increasing. Once it goes down all the way to the left, that means we are starting to now lose money, and the bar is going to fill up with red, which means we are in debt. So We still got a long way to go, but we'll keep an eye on it since we're building a lot of construction sectors. Okay, we can quickly check what our neighbors are doing. We primarily want to focus on Prussia, Austria, and Russia, of course. A mistake that I've actually realized that I've just done is I have not been improving relations with any of them. So I'm going to be improving relations with Austria, with Prussia, with... Actually, let's see. So they are actually protective. Sure. Not sure how long that's going to last, but Prussians are cautious towards us, which is what it is. And France is protective. Very interesting. And Great Britain is protective. Everyone's like, please, we don't want them dead. And the Russians are annexing some of their subjects, it looks like. So they're going to be knocking on our door soon enough, and if they're not going to be knocking on our door, then we will be knocking on their door. A mod that I've installed for this game is actually called Intermarium, which if you go to our cultures and nation formation, we can see that we can form the Intermarium Union, which comprises of all the highlighted countries over here. So our plan is to actually liberate these countries like Poland, Belarus, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania from the Russians, and then form this union that will once and for all stand as the protector of Europe from the Russian hold. All right, and as the last construction sector is about to be built, we are going to start developing our industry here. So we are going to build an iron mine in Luhansk, and we are going to build, actually we're going to build 2 of them. We're going to need logging camps as well, but we will be needing tooling workshops first. So we'll do this like that. We might change it around, the order I mean. We can go here and check our construction queue. And we might do something like this instead, but we'll see how it goes, what we need, and build it accordingly. Okay, so we have built our first iron mine, which is going to cost tools as a resource to produce iron. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to change so that we built a tooling workshop first. Now we are importing some of these things, and you can see that now that we've built an iron mine, we are losing money on importing iron here. So we are actually going to potentially cancel it. We are going to cancel it. I've decided. And that means that iron prices should go up since we are not importing iron anymore. So let's see, we should be employing a bunch of people, and we should be getting a positive revenue because of this. Now what we want to do, since we built some construction sectors, we can change the type of construction from wooden buildings to iron frame buildings, which here we can see it's going to increase the amount of tools we need and increase the amount of iron we need dramatically. This is going to make us build buildings even faster, which means we're going to industrialize and grow our GDP at a much, much higher rate, which is exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to change the construction method in this province of Luhansk here into iron frame buildings. Boom. The tools are going through the roof because they're very pricey now, and the iron mine, as you can see, the price goes so high that we almost have a shortage, but since we built this mine, it's filling up with employees, and that should change the price and increase our GDP. And we have also passed professional army, perfect. So we can have X amount of battalions, and we get all these bonuses like morale loss and so on and so forth. So that's just going to make the strength of our army even better. We can go into our military, and we can see that we have 3 battalions, one with 5 units, one with 30, and one with 4. We might combine 4 with 5 just so we have a 9-unit battalion, and we have this major 30 battalion line infantry. Very nice. We're going to give ourselves a general. You have to be careful here because you have a choice of 3, and you don't want to choose a general that obviously has bad modifiers, but also depending on what kind of interest group they are part of. So you want to have an armed forces one just because you want to increase the amount of armed forces people are affiliated with them. I English very best. We'll choose something like this guy. This guy's brave. Look at that. Leonid Radyenko. Sure. Let's go with that guy. And we can see that he is able to command 33 units, and we have 30, so that's fine. We're going to choose these guys, and we're going to actually swap them out to this army here. Boom, boom, chicka, chicka, boom, boom. And they're going to travel. Look at that. Bam. And they have now united with the other ones here. which is great. Let's give this army a armed forces general as well. Boom, he's also brave. Well, we got some brave people in Ukraine, that's for sure. And as you can see, we are actually losing 12.5k a month. So we are going to bump up the taxes here so we stop losing money altogether. Now, as you can see, we have actually a radical trying to push a movement to enact National Guard. So if you click here, we can see that right now under the Home Affairs, we have no Home Affairs, but they want us to enact National Guard, which basically means that the state may use, you can see at the bottom here, if I can get it, the state may use military force to suppress domestic unrest. Not great. Not gonna lie, I don't like it, but you know, we are a growing country and eventually we might go to guaranteed liberties here, which is exactly what we are looking for. But for now, to make the interest groups happy, we might go for something like this. Let's go back and see what kind of other laws we may potentially enact. Not much here. We can have dedicated police force, which is quite great. But the problem with this is that it needs bureaucracy, an additional 158 bureaucracy actually. And right now we are at -2. So in order to facilitate all these institutions, we have to have a base of bureaucracy in the country. And in order to do that, we have to build bureaucratic, a government, administrative government administration, government administration centers. In order to do that, we have to, well, basically pay money. All they do is just take money and we have to have enough paper. So this game is kind of like a puzzle of supply and demand, this and that. Do you have this? Where do you get this? And so on and so forth. So it's very fun. It's kind of like an escape room within a spreadsheet, if you will. So we don't want to enact that law just yet, just because we don't have enough bureaucracy at the moment. Although it is a good law. Decisions. What else can we do? We can bring in the Orthodox Church into power. And what kind of laws do they want to enact? We can check here. Oligarchy. They would be down for landed voting, which is quite good, I think. Actually, no, they don't want any of these. Or do they? What do they want to pass? Yeah, they do. They do. We want to have this because currently the distribution of power in our country is autocratic, and we do not want that. Although it gives us a lot of authority, it is not great. Not at all. So, if we take this, they are endorsing it. Who doesn't like it? The armed forces, apparently, and the rural folk don't like it. Interesting. They would prefer autocracy versus landed voting. That is fascinating. But let's try it out. Let's bring in the Orthodox Church instead of the armed forces. They have done their job. We have professional army now. It's going to create some radicals. It's going to remove some loyalists just because we're messing with the government, but that's fine because these numbers are still quite low. So let's do that. And now we can go and choose. Ooh. Interesting. We can actually go all the way to census suffrage, but as you can see, that's going to increase the amount of radicals in our interest groups. I think landed voting here might be okay. So let's see. Intelligentsia likes it, industrialists like it, trade unions like it. The armed forces don't like it, but they're going to go from +20 to +10, which is still great. And well, the rural folk don't like it for some reason. How come? So what we can do, we can go and check. Rural folk, who are you led by? You're led by an authoritarian. That's why. What if we exile you? Exile dissident. And now they're led by a land reformer. So if we pass this law, all of a sudden, because we exiled that guy, everyone seems to be a-okay with it. Let's do it. This is going to create parties where multiple interest groups can form together and actually form a party and push laws in a more efficient and better way. So let's keep going. Okay, so I'm gonna queue up some more iron mines just because we have a huge shortage, and we're going to be changing the construction sectors from wooden buildings to iron frames for all of our construction sectors. So we're gonna need a lot of iron in the future. All right, so we have 4 iron mines now. So let's keep converting our construction sectors and keep building the iron mines. We need more, 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 more. As we can see, our GDP is starting to increase. It's almost at 10 million. We're sitting at 11 worldwide, which is sexy. And yeah, let's keep going. Another thing that we are going to do actually is politely ask Circassia to join our country, and hopefully nobody's going to mind too much. So let's start a diplomatic play. They are non-politely telling us no thank you, but we're going to send in our convincing party over here to talk to them. So the way that war works, you start a diplomatic play, and then there are different phases where, for example, right now we have diplomatic maneuvers here. I'm not sure yeah, diplomatic maneuvering or escalate. I'm not sure what the different sections are called, but anyways, at this point we can call in or try to negotiate with other countries to join or leave the war as follows. But I think because there's such a small country here and this region is not very let's say in demand, or basically what I'm trying to say, nobody cares. So this should be an easy war for us, and as you can see, everyone's declaring themselves neutral, and we are going to start polite negotiation talks. And look at this. Pew 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 pew. Look at all the flags. This game is actually very pretty as like when you zoom in. You can see here, look at Kyiv. The bells and stuff. And actually, on the roads, you can see carriages going. Look at that! Look at that! And they even have like little torches because it's nighttime. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? Look at that! Don't look at what's going on over there. And look, sunrise! Whee! Okay, and negotiations went through, and they decided to join our country. Awesome. That is awesome. And we have hit 10 million GDP, which is great. That means we are doing something right. We're losing a little bit of money, but since we are building more things, the pool that our money can be stored in is increasing, which means that we are losing money at a slower rate, if that makes sense. And look at this, Austria actually wants to enter into a defensive pact with us. Since we do want some of their provinces, it's tough. It's a tough decision because my hometown is taken by them. But you know what? I'm gonna accept for now because let's just simply say that we have bigger fish to fry and we need to defend ourselves, because although they are protective at the moment, that might not last the entire game. So we're gonna buddy up with the Austrians for the moment. Awesome, landed voting has been passed, which is fantastic. That means that now we have parties. We have the Agrarian Party, we have the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party, and the Patriotic Party. Which means that the interest groups are going to combine together, and it's going to help us pass the laws that we want to pass. The moment we can actually start to go from hereditary bureaucrats to appointed bureaucrats, which is something that I actually am going to do. It's going to decrease our bureaucracy, which might put us in the negatives, but this is definitely the way to go. And now that we've actually passed the landed voting distribution under distribution of power, we are going to have an election, and we can see how the different parties are going to be voted for. So unfortunately, the Conservative Party at the moment is going to get the most amount of votes, but the Agrarian Party is right there behind them with 1.4 million, which is fantastic. Okay, we are starting to lose quite a bit of money, 14k per week. So I'm going to introduce some taxation over here for our country. I'm going to remove the road maintenance that I have given here, and I think here as well. Yes. And I'm going to start taxing services, which should give us 3. And I might drop down the military wages and the government wages a little bit. Might even push... Yeah, let's do something like this. Okay, so elections have passed. And we can now change how our government looks like. Let's see what is the best possible combination. Well, we can bring in the rural folk, which would be great. Let's just check if they are in favor or against the new law that we are passing. And it looks like they might be just indifferent, actually. So I think it might be better to keep the Orthodox Church interest group in for now, since they are actually democratic. Look at that. Yeah, we won't do any changes at the moment, but in the future, this is definitely going to help us out. Okay, now that we have a good base of production, what I mean is like the rate of how much we can build is quite high, since we built quite a bit of construction sector 7 and we've changed all of them to iron frames at the moment. So now we can see we have 44, which is quite good for the beginning. Now we can focus on building certain buildings that will improve our production of goods. We are currently importing quite a lot of things. For example, paper, we're importing some guns, we're importing sugar, and so on and so forth. Actually, we're still importing iron. Let's cancel that, since we have a lot of iron mines. We've built up to 10 now. Now, iron is expensive. I might actually build a few more. However, atmospheric engine is about to come online, and we will change the production method from mining equipment, picks and shovels, to atmospheric engine pump, which will bring coal online, which means we should build some coal mines in here. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and that will be that. Coal mines, and then we will build some awesome buildings in just a little bit. Okay, an atmospheric engine is up and running, so we're going to choose the production method to the good one, and look at that, lowers the price of iron by a crazy amount. And now the coal mines are going to be expensive. We're going to change them as well to the atmospheric engine, and we are going to start changing our urban centers to gas streetlights, since we are going to have a decent amount of coal everywhere. So let's do that actually everywhere. So we can go here. Boom. We might need to build some more. So let's do 2 more. We're going to change the production, or the research, to a more military focused research. So we're going to go for general staff, and we're going to need percussion caps for the different for the munition plants. So we'll queue that up. And unfortunately, we have some bad luck with our foreign bureaucrats, and we have 3 setbacks, which means that it unfortunately failed. I've been building a few industries here and there, some paper mills, some glassworks, and we've got our GDP back to, or up to, 12.3 million, which is amazing. We basically doubled it since the beginning of 6 million, and we have a movement to enact homesteading, which is amazing, since at the moment we are running serfdom, which is a government of slavery adopted from the Russians that were our overlord before the start of the game. So we will be definitely moving towards this. Unfortunately, that's going to piss off the landowners quite a bit, to -18. So there might be a revolution brewing. Who knows? But stay tuned and check out the next episode to see if the revolution will fire, and if we will beat it and increase our GDP to #1 in the world at some point. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.